December 2025, Mar-a-Lago, 11:47 p.m. The call came through on a secure line, the kind reserved for conversations that cannot exist on paper. Donald Trump had just finished dinner when his phone lit up with a name he knew well. Tiger Woods didn't call often. When he did, it mattered. "I need to ask you something," Tiger said, "and I need you to hear it before anyone else does." What followed over the next 47 minutes would remain classified for months: a $500 million wedding plan, a venue that had never hosted a private ceremony in its 225-year history, a guest list that read like the index of who's who across sports, politics, and entertainment, and a secret negotiation between the greatest golfer of all time and the 47th President of the United States, the outcome of which would either unite two dynasties or tear them apart forever. This is the untold story of the wedding that almost happened, and the one phone call that almost stopped it. Subscribe for more original golf dynasty fiction.
The Jupiter Island compound was silent at 11:47 p.m. Tiger Woods had spent 30 years mastering the art of sleeping through chaos, but his phone had 6 numbers that bypassed Do Not Disturb: his children, his mother, his attorney, his agent, and, as of January 2025, the 47th President of the United States. When the screen lit up with that specific caller ID, Tiger knew it wasn't a social call. Donald Trump's voice was unmistakable: the cadence, the confidence, the complete absence of apology for calling it nearly midnight. But there was something else beneath it, something Tiger had rarely heard from the man who had awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2019, who had played countless rounds at Trump National, who had always treated him as both friend and trophy: vulnerability. "So," Trump said, no greeting, no preamble, "you're marrying my granddaughter's mother. Let's talk about what that actually means." Tiger sat up slowly, swinging his legs over the edge of the bed. His surgically repaired Achilles throbbed a quiet warning. He ignored it. "Vanessa and I are serious," he said. "Yes." A pause. Tiger could hear voices in the background, the low, late-night hum of Mar-a-Lago, ice clinking in crystal glasses, the muffled laughter of staff working overtime. "She's been through enough," Trump said. His voice was quieter now, stripped of rally cadence. The divorce, the tabloids, raising 5 kids while the world picked apart her every move. She deserves something extraordinary. Tiger waited. He had learned over decades of competition that silence was often the most powerful negotiation tool. "She deserves a wedding that makes a statement," Trump continued. "Not some backyard ceremony with the justice of the peace, not a quiet courthouse signature. Something that tells the world this woman is not just moving on, she's ascending." The line crackled. Tiger's grip tightened on the phone. "What did you have in mind?" Trump's voice shifted back to something familiar, confident, expansive, the tone of a man who had spent his entire life building monuments. "The White House, June, the Rose Garden, and I'm not talking about a simple I do. I'm talking about the most expensive, most watched, most talked about wedding in American history." Tiger closed his eyes. Outside, the Atlantic rolled against the shore, indifferent and eternal. "What's the number?" he asked. Trump didn't hesitate. $500 million, minimum, and I'll match every penny. The call lasted 47 minutes. By the time it ended, the most audacious wedding plan in modern history had been set in motion. Neither man knew in that moment that the hardest part wouldn't be the money, the venue, or even the guest list. It would be telling Vanessa. The plan was audacious, the kind of thing that would have seemed impossible for any couple, let alone one whose names carried the weight of 2 of America's most scrutinized dynasties. According to sources close to the negotiations, the $500 million figure was broken down with military precision. Tiger Woods would contribute $250 million from his personal fortune, a staggering sum, but one that represented a fraction of his estimated $1.3 billion net worth. Donald Trump, through undisclosed channels, would match it dollar for dollar. The venue was the most controversial element. The White House Rose Garden had never hosted a private wedding ceremony in its history. State dinners, bill signings, diplomatic receptions, yes. A wedding? Never. The optics were complicated. The 47th president's former daughter-in-law marrying a golf legend in the home of American power. But Trump was undeterred. He reportedly told aides, "It's perfect. It says, this family is not broken, it's evolving." The guest list was equally staggering. Every living former president, every active major champion on both the PGA Tour and LIV Golf, A-list celebrities from every corner of entertainment, royalty from Europe and the Middle East. The total headcount approached 800 people, requiring a logistical operation that rivaled a state dinner. Security was another layer of complexity. The Secret Service would be responsible for protecting a sitting president, his family, and hundreds of high-profile guests simultaneously. The planning documents reportedly ran to thousands of pages. And then there was the matter of the family. Vanessa had not been consulted. Tiger had made the call without her knowledge, a decision that would test the very foundation of their relationship before the first invitation could be printed.
Vanessa Trump discovered the plan not through a romantic proposal, but through a voicemail she was never meant to hear. It was 8:14 a.m. on a Sunday. Tiger had left his phone on the kitchen island while making coffee. The screen lit up with a blocked number. Vanessa, never one to pry, glanced at it instinctively, then froze when she recognized the voice on the recording. "Tiger, it's Dawn. We need to talk about the guest list. Melania has opinions about the China pattern. Also, my father wants to know if you've considered the helicopter situation. Marine One on the South Lawn makes a statement. Think about it." The message ended. Vanessa stared at the phone. China patterns. Marine One. Her ex-father-in-law. Her ex-father-in-law discussing her wedding like it was a state dinner. Tiger found her 10 minutes later, sitting on the back patio, his phone in her lap. He didn't ask how she'd heard. He just sat down beside her and waited. "Tell me everything," she said. And he did. The $250 million from him. The $250 million match from Donald Trump. The Rose Garden ceremony. The guest list that included presidents, kings, and every active major champion. The security protocol, the dress designers already contacted, the 4 separate catering teams under consideration. Vanessa listened without interruption. When he finished, the Atlantic wind filled the silence between them. "Donald Trump is paying for my wedding," she said slowly. "My ex-father-in-law, the father of the man I divorced 8 years ago." "Yes," Tiger said. "And you said yes to this without asking me?" Tiger was silent. He had no defense. Vanessa closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet, but her voice was steady. "I have one condition," she said. "Anything. No helicopters, no Marine One, no presidential optics. If this happens, it happens on our terms, not his." Tiger exhaled. "Agreed. And I'm telling Don Jr. myself, before any of this goes any further. He deserves to hear it from me, not from a leaked memo or a press release." Tiger nodded slowly. He understood, perhaps better than anyone, the weight of conversations deferred. "When?" Vanessa looked out at the ocean, gray and endless under the February sky. "Today, right now." Donald Trump Jr. arrived at the Palm Beach Cafe wearing sunglasses he didn't need and an expression he couldn't hide. Vanessa had chosen the location carefully, neutral ground, public enough to prevent drama, private enough to inspire honesty. They had divorced 8 years ago, raised 5 children together, and somehow emerged on the other side as functional co-parents. But this conversation was different. This wasn't about school pickups or summer schedules. This was about letting go. "He called me," Don Jr. said, sliding into the booth. "My father, at 6 a.m.,
woke me up to tell me he's co-financing my ex-wife's wedding to Tiger Woods at the White House." Vanessa exhaled slowly. "I wanted you to hear it from me." Don Jr. removed his sunglasses. His eyes were tired, but not angry. "Vanessa, I spent 12 years married to you. I spent 8 years divorced from you. I know you better than almost anyone on this planet." He paused. "Is he the one?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." Don Jr. nodded slowly. He looked out the window, then back at her. "Then you have my blessing. Not because I'm generous, because my kids deserve to see their mother happy, and I've never seen you look the way you look when you talk about him." Vanessa reached across the table. He took her hand. "No helicopters," she said. He laughed, the first genuine laugh she'd heard from him in years. "That was my condition, too."
Donald Trump received the news in the Oval Office, surrounded by briefing books and the quiet hum of executive power. His son's blessing had been secured. Vanessa's condition had been accepted. The $500 million sat in escrow, waiting to transform the Rose Garden into something it had never been, a wedding chapel. But there was one detail no one had dared to ask. "Let me understand this correctly," Trump said, leaning back in his chair. "You want me, the 47th President of the United States, to walk my former daughter-in-law down the aisle to marry Tiger Woods." Tiger stood across the resolute desk, unflinching. "Yes." Trump studied him for a long, silent moment. The weight of the room pressed down, portraits of Washington and Lincoln, the weight of history itself. "I ruined my son's marriage," Trump said quietly. "The investigations, the witch hunts, the pressure of this office. I don't pretend otherwise." He paused. "Vanessa deserved better. From all of us." "She's not asking for the past," Tiger said. "She's asking for the future." Trump nodded slowly. His hand moved to the desk drawer, pulled out a simple white envelope. "I wrote this 6 months ago, before you ever called, before any of this was real." He slid it across the desk. "Open it when you get home." Inside the envelope, Tiger later discovered, was a single sheet of paper, the handwritten speech Donald Trump intended to give at his former daughter-in-law's wedding. It began with 3 words: "Tonight, I am proud." The president agreed. The money was secured. The guest list was growing. But in Jupiter Island, a 50-year-old man with a battered body and a billion-dollar legacy sat alone in his study, staring at a blank piece of paper, trying to write his own vows, and finding for the first time in his life that the words would not come. The phone rang at 9:47 p.m. on June 13, 2026. 24 hours before Tiger Woods and Vanessa Trump were scheduled to exchange vows in the Rose Garden. 24 hours before 500 guests, presidents, champions, royalty, would witness the most anticipated wedding in American history. Tiger stared at the caller ID. Elin Nordegren. 16 years since their divorce. Countless public scandals, private negotiations, shared parent-teacher conferences. They had exchanged exactly 1,247 text messages since 2010, almost all of them about Sam and Charlie. They had not spoken on the phone in over a decade. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Tiger." Her voice was calm, measured, the same voice that had read bedtime stories to their children, the same voice that had told him, "I forgive you," in a Palm Beach courthouse, the same voice that had spent 16 years deliberately, determinedly moving forward. "Elin." His voice cracked, barely audible. "Is everything okay? Is it the kids?" "The kids are fine. Charlie is pacing his hotel room, terrified of his best man speech. Sam is pretending to meditate, but actually just scrolling through Instagram." A pause. "This isn't about them." Tiger waited. The Atlantic hummed beyond his windows. "I read your vows," Elin said.
Sam sent me the recording. Tiger closed his eyes. Of course she had. His daughter, the Stanford law student, the quiet architect of family peace. They're beautiful, Elin continued. They're everything you never said to me. The silence stretched between them, two people connected by history, children, and the wreckage of a marriage that collapsed under the weight of fame, infidelity, and impossible expectations. I'm not calling to reopen anything, Elin said. I'm calling because I need you to hear this before tomorrow. Tiger grouped the phone. I'm listening. 16 years ago, I married a man who didn't know who he was without a golf club in his hands. Tomorrow, you're marrying a woman who has seen you at your most vulnerable, recovering from surgery, struggling to walk, learning to be still. That man is someone I never met, but I'm glad he exists. Her voice softened, barely perceptible. You were never the villain in my story, Tiger. You were just the chapter I had to close before I could write my own. A pause. Vanessa isn't your redemption. She's your reward. There's a difference. Tiger's throat tightened. He couldn't speak. Go marry her, Elin said. Be late, be stubborn, be everything you couldn't be with me. And for God's sake, don't let Charlie wear that hideous tie he bought. A sound escaped Tiger, something between a laugh and a sob. Thank you, he whispered. You're welcome. Don't call me tomorrow. I'll be demolishing a kitchen. The line went silent.
June 14th, 2026. The rose garden had never looked like this. 3,000 white roses, Vanessa's only specific request, cascaded down the aisles, their fragrance mingling with the thick Washington humidity. 500 cream-colored chairs faced a simple altar draped in ivory silk. The Washington Monument stood sentinel in the distance, a silent witness to history. At 4:47 p.m., the Marine Corps String Quartet shifted from Bach to something unexpected. Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Vanessa's choice. Tiger had laughed when she told him. He wasn't laughing now. Charlie Woods walked his mother down the aisle. Elin had insisted, not through tears or grand gestures, simply a text message to Tiger 3 days prior. Charlie should walk her, not her father, not yours. Charlie. Vanessa had cried when Tiger told her. Then she called Don Jr. to ensure he wasn't offended. Then she called Charlie, who said nothing for a full 30 seconds before choking out, "Okay, yeah, okay." Now, in ivory silk and barefoot, another condition, this one inexplicable to everyone except Vanessa, she walked toward the man who had spent 50 years learning to stay still. Tiger watched her approach and forgot to breathe. Donald Trump, seated in the front row beside Melania, removed his sunglasses. Don Jr., 2 rows behind, gripped Kai's hand. Sam Woods, maid of honor, clutched her bouquet so tightly her knuckles whitened. Charlie released Vanessa's hand at the altar. He looked at Tiger, his father, his hero, his complicated, evolving, deeply human father, and nodded once. "Don't mess this up," the nod said. Tiger nodded back. "I won't." The officiant spoke. Vows were exchanged. Tiger's voice, rough and unpolished, carried across the silent garden. Vanessa's response, steady and sure, echoed off the White House columns. When they kissed, the applause was not polite. It was volcanic, relief and joy, and the collective exhale of 500 people who had witnessed something they never expected to see. Tiger Woods, at peace. Kai Trump caught the bouquet. Charlie Woods pretended to be horrified. And somewhere in North Palm Beach, Elin Nordegren watched the live stream on her iPad, surrounded by construction dust and blueprints. She smiled, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, and picked up a sledgehammer. This story is a work of fiction and creative speculation. All characters, events, financial figures, private conversations, and internal deliberations depicted are imaginary and not based on real events involving Tiger Woods, Vanessa Trump, Elin Nordegren, Donald Trump, or their families. No $500 million wedding plan exists. Friends have explicitly dismissed White House wedding rumors. This content is created for entertainment purposes only. Tiger Woods and Vanessa Trump were married on June 14, 2026, in the Rose Garden of the White House, in this fictional telling. The final cost was $487 million. Donald Trump delivered his handwritten speech without a teleprompter. Charlie Woods wore a different tie. Elin Nordegren's new home was completed in December 2026. The kitchen was, by all accounts, magnificent. In reality, the couple continues to enjoy quiet dinners and low-key evenings in Florida, nurturing their relationship away from the spotlight. Tiger celebrated his 50th birthday with Vanessa by his side at the Breakers in January 2026. Trump playfully teases her mom about the romance in YouTube videos. And Donald Trump, he's simply happy for them both. "I love Tiger and I love Vanessa," the president said back in March 2025. Let them both be happy. Sometimes the truth is better than fiction. For more original golf dynasty fiction, subscribe and hit the notification bell.